Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Incredible events are taking place in the universe of One Piece. We have new confrontations and revelations are being brought to us throughout this final saga. The saga in which the final conclusion of the work will be presented. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the next events that could happen in these next few chapters of One Piece, how these current events will end, and what the fate of the Straw Hats could end up being. But before we dive into the video and our expectations for chapter 1064 of One Piece, if you're new to the channel or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like and even subscribe and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, we currently have a matchup between Law and Teach that could evolve into quite a substantial battle, where the defeat of either opponent will make that pirate, the victor, even closer to getting the location of the One Piece treasure. And in this last chapter, we saw that Law seems to have a pretty good advantage in this battle. Law was even able to injure Teach, causing the mighty Yonko to bleed, as well as being able to weaken some of Teach's pirates, such as Stronger and Doc Q, allowing Law's crew to have a much bigger advantage in the battle in the water. The thing that seems to be giving the edge to Law over Teach is that Law has the power of an awakened devil fruit, allowing Law to use several more powerful techniques than his normal room strategy. For his part, Teach said that he had only known about the room techniques, as Law had used it in several battles, making him know all of these techniques recognizable around the world by pirates and marines alike. However, with the awakening of his fruit, Law is now able to use a new technique called Kroom, so K-R-O-O-M, having techniques totally unknown to even Law himself. So Teach is witnessing all new attacks that Law managed to obtain with the awakening of his devil fruit. So far, the battle seems to be favorable for Law's side, but this fight could easily change drastically towards Teach's side, as Law doesn't know Teach's techniques. And we saw Teach using the Black Vortex technique, a technique of his devil fruit, the animenomi. This technique is able to control grav, allowing Teach to attract Law towards it, similar to what Teach did during the confrontation with Ace, but Law may be unaware of this technique. In the past, Teach might not have been fighting with his full power, which makes most of these techniques unknown, and also most of his enemies that have confronted Teach either lost their lives or met a not so pleasant end. This lack of information and mystery, it might have made it impossible for Law to get any information about the techniques that Teach is able to use with the animenomi and Gura no Mi, which means that Teach might be able to turn the advantage of this battle into his favor. There is also that high possibility that Teach will be able to nullify Law's powers if he manages to touch it. And as we're currently seeing Law using his Kroom, this means that he won't be able to teleport to any location he wants during the fight, which means he might not be able to escape Teach's techniques. During the end of this most recent chapter of 1063, we saw that Teach unexpectedly used the power of his animenomi, causing Law to be surprised by what was happening, but we still don't know what happened, and it's only going to be in this next chapter that'll be revealed whether Law has fallen into the clutches of Teach. Also, Law was still using his Kroom on his sword, which means he may not be able to switch automatically to his room quickly, and even if he does, if Teach can get his hands on him, he'll be able to nullify the room with the power of darkness. The darkness will make it impossible for Law to escape Teach, so in this next chapter, we might see Teach start to gain an advantage against Law, possibly manage to injure him or even defeat him. There's also a different possibility that adds on to Law possibly losing this conflict, because if Teach can't get Law, or at least defeat him, he's not going to be able to proceed with any plans to find the One Piece treasure. And it's only in this way that our story might be able to continue, because if Law managed to defeat Teach and his crew, he would be able to save Pudding and use her to find the One Piece, and that would put Teach and his crew back again at a huge disadvantage. So this means that Teach has to pull out the win against Law. And if Teach were to win, not only would he be able to obtain the information from the road Poneglyphs that Law has, he may even be able to steal his fruit from one of Law's pirates or Law himself, allowing Teach's crew to be able to strengthen themselves with the power of another stolen devil fruit. Also, with this victory, Teach would only have the final remaining road Poneglyph to be found and deciphered. Though Teach doesn't have Nico Robin next to him, he does have one of the only other people that's able to read a road Poneglyph. Because he managed to capture Charlotte Pudding, who is a member of the Three-Eyed Tribe, she does have that possibility of unlocking the ability to read the Poneglyphs. Now, although she inherited the human giant blood from her mother, Charlotte Linlin, the identity of her father is still unknown. However, what we have learned is that this Three-Eyed Tribe has the ability to hear the voice of all things, something capable of at least mostly, if not partially, deciphering the road Poneglyphs. And although this may not be enough, we saw in the past that this at least gave Roger and others who could hear the voice of all things at least a direction on where they needed to go next. And speaking of Roger, because he had this ability, he couldn't fully understand what was written on the Poneglyphs. After all, he needed Odin's help to fully guide him and the rest of his crew to the One Piece treasure. And even if Luffy has this gift, although he doesn't know how to control it, there have been these rare moments where Luffy is able to kind of interpret what's being said around him. But at no time have we seen that Luffy could read what was written on the road Poneglyphs. So it's only been Roger that we've seen so far that was able to use the voice of all things the way he wanted. Although, as we just said, it wasn't enough to get every detail out of the road Poneglyphs, in which this case was he needed someone who could decipher them. A big barrier that still remains for Teach's plan is that Pudding, at least as far as we know, hasn't awakened her third eye. And she may not even know how to awaken this power. As she said, there are hardly any hybrids that are able to awaken the power altogether. But because Pudding is an important character for our story, it's very likely that she might be able to awaken those eyes at some point, allowing Pudding to hear the voice of all things and perhaps get even greater power. However, this third eye will only allow Pudding to be able to read parts of the road Poneglyph. And even if she can read just parts, it may be enough for Teach to be able to find out the location of the last island. Moving on to other expectations. In this last chapter of 1063, we saw that all the Straw Hats are now on Egghead Island, the home of Vegapunk, the place where many secrets about not only this great scientist, but also potentially the secrets of the Devil Fruit to be revealed as well. In this next chapter, we may not get to see or meet the original Vegapunk, because after all, we haven't met all of the other Vegapunks yet. So it may be that we gotta meet all of the branches of Vegapunk before we get to meet the one called the Stella, the one that is responsible for passing on the information to the other satellites, known as the Punks. We did see, however, that Punk 01, known as Shaka, was talking to Monkey D. Dragon, giving him some very important information, telling Dragon that his life was in danger and that he may be worried about losing his life at some moment. However, Dragon seems to be a little confused, telling Shaka not to talk nonsense. But Shaka says that as a smart person, they know when their end is near. So that means that Shaka may know that CP0 could be on their way to the island to take their life. Dragon also seems to be worried about Shaka, and may also be worried about the life of the real Vegapunk, because the two may have some shared past together, possibly being allies or maybe business partners, since Vegapunk does produce many different kinds of weapons and technology. Vegapunk could also be the very one responsible for equipping the revolutionaries with all of their high-quality equipment, so that they can face off against Navy and world government people on equal footing. But this relationship might be much deeper and greater than we even know. And the connection could come from none other than Bartholomew Kuma, who was a former member of the revolutionaries before being banished from his home kingdom. But once he was captured, Vegapunk made a proposal to ally with him, which gave Vegapunk the ability to study and modify his body in any way he wished, but Kuma would be able to stay alive and away from the death sentence he had earned from the world government. So even though Kuma might have been Vegapunk's guinea pig, Kuma still considered himself a revolutionary and still respected Vegapunk, something that was quite unusual to see because he was becoming an ally of his enemy. However, Vegapunk could be an ally of the revolutionaries and might have been so for a long time, which allowed Vegapunk to prevent Kuma from having his life taken and even having the opportunity to test new things in his body, fortifying him and making him stronger for an eventual battle. After all, the revolutionaries had to have known that there would one day become a all-and-out battle between them and the world government. So this might have been the long game that they were playing, to make him a weapon for the revolutionaries. But this also could have gotten out of hand, which may have had the world government interested in Vegapunk's work overall. Because if the world government had seen all of the work that Vegapunk did to Kuma, this may have been the thing that forced him to make the Pacifista army. But to continue his cover, he was forced to create these robots to still receive the resources he needed from the world government to continue his research. So even though they may not have been able to follow the initial plan, Dragon still kept his alliance with Vegapunk, because as we saw in this last chapter, Shaka informed Dragon mentioned that he was worried that they would lose their life very soon. This might mean that Vegapunk still trusts Dragon, and he's passing on this very important information to him. However, with the Straw Hats on Egghead Island, they're going to be able to prevent Vegapunk from losing his life, as they're currently on the island. But even though they're in different locations, with Luffy, Jinbei, Chopper, and Bonnie at the bottom of the island, and Sanji, Nico, Robin, Nami, Brook, Frankie, and Usopp on the top of the island, we know that they will eventually come back together and be able to fight to keep them safe from CP0. So when CP0 does try to come and take Vegapunk's life, the Straw Hats will be able to stop them. And this may be the reason why all of the various punks are welcoming the Straw Hats quite kindly and not threatening them. This could mean that Vegapunk is not necessarily an evil character, as many have speculated in the community, that he's just kind of playing along with the world government until the plan that the revolutionaries had worked out. However, if the world government discovers that Vegapunk is in direct contact with Dragon, this might be the reason why they have sent CP0 to take the life of Vegapunk. So for now, all we can do is wait for these next chapters to find out more information about how all these events are going to play out. Now, the Egghead Island arc may not be a very long arc, especially considering the length of Wano, but we'll be looking forward to see how each of these extremely important events play out and how it will eventually decide the fate of the world of One Piece. But with all that said, my friends, we'd love to know what you think about it. Do you think that the alliance between Vegapunk and Dragon has been a long-standing one, and that's the reason why Kuma decided to go to be Vegapunk's guinea pig? Next, do you think CP0 is going to go straight to Egghead Island, or do you think they might try and go to that nearby marine base and pick up some sword members to come with them? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So as we wrap up today's video, I want to thank all of you so much for watching the video, especially all the way up to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you've made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.